Hello, it's Nikki. How are you doing? Welcome to another two-parter. Today I am taking you behind the scenes. Over the last few months and maybe the last couple of years actually, I've really been noticing and paying attention to where I want to go next. This is all to do with turning 40, basically, and me suddenly having more urgency in my life and business than ever before. Not that I want to be in that scarcity mindset, but when you hit a milestone age, I know that for me, I was very much like, okay, what have I done? Where do I want to go next? What am I doing with my life and business, basically? And over the last couple of months, I have made lots of changes. And it's been interesting doing those changes because, firstly, everything takes longer than you think it's going to. And secondly, when you make changes, you uncover other stuff. It's almost like those renovation shows, isn't it? When you see somebody and then they knock down a wall or they take the tiles off the bathroom and suddenly there's damp or there's something going on. And it's quite that process. You think you're going in to do one thing and you actually end up coming out with something completely different. So, as you may want to do this process yourself, as always, with lots of my work, do go through it with kindness, care, and grace, and a lot of love for yourself, because these processes are quite often quite tricky. And these are things that most people don't want to do. So, the fact that you're doing it, the fact that you're having a go, the fact that you're trying and failing, maybe, certainly that's what happened for me, means you're on the right path. Okay, today I have notes. Yes, I do. I have notes because I want to share some of the things that have been coming up for me. And this is not just to put a spotlight on my business. This is for you to take these pointers and turn them around and ask yourself, what does this look like, or what could this look like or feel like in my business? Is there something that I could take from this? Is there something I need to do now I know this bit of information? So the first thing that kept coming up, and it was a word that kept coming up again and again and again, was simplify. Simplify. And maybe it was because I had reached a point where I felt like I was at capacity. Earlier in the year, I felt very tired. I felt quite overwhelmed. I felt that heaviness of the pandemic. I got COVID myself. And it gets to a point sometimes in your life, in your business, where you maybe feel like you've got to a dead end and you're like, I need to strip back. I need to strip back and strip off. I need to strip back. I need to declutter. And I did that physically, even though it looks like madness behind me. I did that physically when we moved into this house, and many things did not make the cut to come to this house. And I then got more intrigued by the process, and not just the process, but what that could bring. And I think for many of us, there can be a tendency to overcomplicate things, because perhaps as women, we have been brought up to be all things to all people, to be a pleaser. I'm smiling along because this is completely me, like very accommodating. Let me do everything for everybody. And what can happen is that in that process, the person that is shrinking, or the person that is feeling burnt out, or the person that feels like their needs are maybe not met, is the business owner, is you. And so I ask you today, what do you need to simplify? When I go into my business, this was about trimming, decluttering, shortcutting the process. How was I taking my ideal client, customer on an ideal, not an ideal goose chase, a wild goose chase? What did that look like? And why was I making it complicated? Because if that ideal client or customer is like me, I just want the thing. Just give me the thing. There's nothing to me like one of the things that I really loathe are those queuing systems where you can barely see the end, you can't see the beginning, and you're just seeing like people. And there's no sense of timing or why people are there or how long that they've been there. And so as I was rebranding my website, I just kept thinking, how can I simplify this process? And this is going to be really interesting for you based on the data that you probably have about your business. And here's what I mean by this. When are people shopping with you? When are people inquiring? What other stuff have they got going on at the same time? How can you make it easier for them? I also kept asking myself through this simplification process of how can I do this better? Yes, how can I do this better? I have got a decade of coaching under my belt, under my arm, but I can do things better. I am open to learning. I want to know the things. I wanted to make my website, for example, more mobile friendly. So you weren't doing that thing where you were sort of moving your hands to expand and then compress the screen. No, I just want to scroll up and down. I want to see what I need to see, and that's it. And that's it. Simplify. That was a really interesting one. Number 2, what was going on in the market? This is a one to tread carefully with a little bit, because sometimes this can feel a little bit detrimental because it can send you into comparison, or that you're not enough, or you haven't done the thing, or like they're so much better, whatever. It can catapult a negative spiral of chat. But here's what I mean by this. Understanding what is going on culturally, what is going on in the conversations, what are you listening out for? What are the given, I keep going back to Stanislavski, A-level theatre studies, but what is going on? What are the given circumstances right now? So societally, people are coming out of the pandemic. So therefore, what does this mean? How do I need to apply that? How do I need to support them through their business? And one of the things that I've noticed over the years in terms of coaching is that prices have been going up and up and up and up. And sales techniques, are we calling them? Sales techniques, conversations, online branding has all been about that top end. Invest thousands, invest hundreds of thousands. This is my 8-figure business. Like everything is becoming more and more expansive. And when you are at the beginning, or when you have other stuff that is going on, maybe 8 figures just seems like a bonkers amount of money. And certainly when I was first starting 10 years ago, there was a sense of just coaching, improving your life and your business, finding more fulfillment, finding more clarity. It wasn't my 8-step system to X, Y, and Z. It wasn't that. And I kept going back to who I wanted to be and what I wanted to offer. And I don't have an 8-figure business. So I need to think about what I therefore have to offer. And I think when you're going through this simplification process, you have to look at what's out there. And so therefore, what do you have to contribute? I've done lots of talks over the years when I've maybe been on a bill with more corporate people, let's say. And I notice the body language and the vibe of the people, especially as it gets to after lunch. You know, people are starting to slump in their seats. And everybody is using that royal blue font and those very sort of precise diagrams. And again, it was one of those moments of going, what are people not saying in this room? What do I therefore need to say? How can I contribute? How can I shake this up? It's that sense of, if you're at a party, you, well, like I was thinking about Friends, like Fun Bobby, here he comes. You want somebody to come in and be like, hi, I haven't met you. Who are you? You want to have that interaction sometimes and shake things up. Or maybe you've been cooking the same meal and you want to add like a different ingredient, or you go into your local supermarket and they're like, we now have this side and or this sauce, and you're like, that is what I've been missing, that is what I want. So using the knowledge, the data, the information that you extract from what's going on out there to really drill down on, so therefore what do you have to contribute and how can you do that? And that's been a really interesting process. Number 3, you have to think about your client, your customer, what is going on for them right now. And I think so often, if I may be so bold to say, being a personal brand, I see it all the time that sometimes people become like this weird caricature version of themselves, and they keep talking about themselves in the third person, and that person starts to become separate from them. And for me, when I am doing business or doing life, it is about connection. It's about interaction. It's about both being in the same conversation. And I kept thinking about my client, and essentially my client has been the same person over the last 10 years. But that person has just been at different stages of the process. So all of my clients have wanted to optimize their personal brand. For example, I've got this idea, I want to do X, Y, and Z. How do I make it go live? How do I package it? How do I price it? How do I do more of what I love? It's all these similar conversations. And if I look back on my notebooks that I've had for years and years, that is what I was talking about then. And it's just gone on a different journey. So actually, the more people that I've spoken to and coached and who have been part of my business and I've been part of theirs, it's the same wants and needs. But when I was redesigning where I went next, I kept coming back to this word of capacity. And for me, why does this always make me emotional? Capacity. Right. How am I going to say it in a way that I just don't end up crying? There are so many situations in life where you might be told that you're not ready, or you don't have enough time, or you're in this situation where you feel like you're peeking over the fence and it's not for you yet. And as that has been part of our society so wrongly, I've noticed that people use those situations as sleazy sales techniques. So for example, they might say, if you're serious, I mean, are you serious about this? If you're serious about this, then you have to do this thing. And I've seen it so often where people have gone into debt, or they've gone through difficult times in their relationship, and they've pushed themselves so far out of their comfort zone that they have frozen. And what I have noticed over the last 10 years, but more so over the last 7, since I became pregnant and I became a mum, is my wants, everything I want to be, do, have, feel, they haven't really changed that much. They just become brighter and more audacious, maybe. Like as you go through things, you're like, oh, actually, I would quite fancy that. As you start to move through your goals, or you see other people that inspire you, one thing that I've noticed is that hasn't changed. So what I want to get from an experience hasn't changed, but my capacity has. There are some times where I've still wanted to do the thing, as in earn money, create my own life and schedule, earn money from doing what I love, etc. But the support that I have been able to invest in, sometimes I just like when I was starting 10 years ago as a new coach, I didn't have the capacity. I mean, some people might say that's a limiting belief, Nikki, but whatever. Like, I was not in a place to know that I should spend 10 grand on something. And so when I was looking at my packages, my services, my offerings, I kept thinking about the capacity of that person that I'm trying to serve. And I knew that I wanted to connect with that person let's do the other person first. I knew that I wanted to connect with that person who's like, Nikki, come on, I've done the online courses, I've done this, I'm ready, I've been listening to the podcast, la 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 la. Let's do 6 months. Let's do 6 sessions. Let's go. Let's do it. Pay my invoice. Off we go. Can I see you next week? I knew that I wanted to attract that person, because often I am that person too. I'm that person as the paying customer. Like, let's do this. Come on, off we go. But I also wanted to support that person who was finding their way, who was working stuff out, who was maybe going through a transition or realizing they had the need to make changes, not because a change was a nice to have, but sometimes this change was sprung upon them. Maybe it was a mental health situation. Maybe they were going through a divorce. Maybe they lost their job and they needed to find a way that they could work for themselves. Maybe they had a baby very, very early that they weren't expecting, and so needed to change the way that they were going to work with their financial situation. Like, so many of those things. And when I kept thinking about that person, the more and more I connected with that person, the more that I remembered those times in my life that I have needed that too. Because there have been times in my life where I've needed those answers, where I've needed to know what the heck to do next, but I haven't been able to go, oh yeah, let's just dedicate a year to this, working this out. I needed to know by the end of the afternoon. So the way that I then worked the offerings in my shop, I thought about how I could meet those needs. So the courses that I've done, there are 3 for 100 quid, and there will be more over the coming months. I wanted people to get to the end of it by the time they've finished watching the final video going, okay, good, now I know what to do. Okay, got it, sorted. Right, okay, I need to put this together, I need to sell this, I need to set up this, done. That's what I wanted. I wanted to complete that circle. So if you are not sure the position of your client or your customer or what the heck is going on with them, please speak to people. Please listen. They will tell you. They will absolutely tell you what they need. And we must listen and not assume. Number 4. What are my goals, my circumstance, and my personality telling me right now? This is about your own capacity and really working out what you want from your life and business. So there have been times where people have said memberships are where it's at. Like, everybody loves a membership. So I set up a membership. I got 2 people. It wasn't really a membership. It was just like a chat with the 3 of us, because I didn't really want to do a membership. And that's not to say that I didn't deliver great quality of content for people, because I absolutely did. But I am not that hostess with the mostess. I am much better in different areas. And so really thinking about what your life goals are as well, it will indicate where you need to take your business next. Maybe understanding what you need from your life will give you an indication of, right, okay, maybe I need to hire somebody, or maybe I need to, going back to point 1, simplify this process, or maybe I need to cut that offering out altogether because it's too confusing. Whatever it might be, I think we have to really get back in tune with what we need from our businesses as well. And I know there is all that phrase of, the customer's always right. But if you're the one who is the founder, if you're the one who is the face of it, if you're not feeling it, or if you're overwhelmed by it, or if you're not completely in alignment, it's not going to help anybody. It's not going to serve anybody at all. So I would love, I feel like I've given you a lot of information here. I've been talking for 20 minutes, so there we go. I would love to know what came up from you. Do check out my shop, nickyraby.com/shop, and my Work With Me page. I now have, as you can see, different packages, different offerings, ways that I can help you. I can help you from your sofa, or I can help you in a more pick and mix. You can choose 1, 3, or 6 sessions with me. And these can be face-to-face, on Zoom, whatever you like. Yeah, check it out. You can read more. You can read more about the reasoning. But I will be back very soon for part 2. So if you like this, if you would like to, yes, please, share this with your audience. Please do. And I'm sending lots of love wherever you are at today. I see you. I am championing you all the way, and I'll see you in part 2.